What is an argument? An argument is a sequence of statements called premises that demonstrates the truth value of a conclusion, which is also a statement. Now, the form of an argument is not really dependent on its content, but rather dependent on the truth values of the premises and conclusion. So when you're analyzing an argument's form, you look at the truth values of the premises and conclusion and not so much the content.
Okay, so let's do the first question. It says in each of 1 through 4, so in this case just number 1, represent the common form of each argument using letters to stand for component sentences and fill in the blanks so that the argument in part B has the same logical form as the argument in part A. So A says, if all integers are rational, then the number 1 is rational. All integers are rational. Therefore, the number 1 is rational. Now, we want to write B so that it has the same form as A. They have different content, clearly, but we want their form to be the same. So let's break down the form of A. As you can see, there's an if-then statement right here. And the first part of the if-then statement says, if all integers are rational. So all integers are rational is the first part. And that is the exact same thing as this sentence right here. And we're going to call this P. The second part of the if-then statement says the number 1 is rational. And that is the same thing as this sentence right here. I'm going to call this Q. So if we wrote down the form in part A of part A using only the symbols P and Q, this is what it will look like. If P, then Q, period, P, therefore Q, and so we want this form to apply to B as well. And so it says, if all algebraic expressions can be written in prefix notation, then blank. We know that the first part of the if-then statement is P, so we could underline this whole part right here to be P. And then the then part of the if-then statement is Q, so we're going to highlight this in green. We don't know what it is yet, but we know that it's Q. And then the second sentence is P. So this right here is going to be in red. And we already know what P is. P is all algebraic expressions can be written in prefix notation. So we can just rewrite that as the second line. All algebraic expressions can be written in prefix notation. And then the last sentence after the word therefore is Q. So this whole part right here is Q, and we need Q up here. So we can just write this part right here, and then A plus 2B times A squared minus B can be written in prefix notation. So now B has all of its parts and it has the same form as A. So if all algebraic expressions can be written in prefix notation, then A plus 2B times A squared minus B can be written in prefix notation. All algebraic expressions can be written in prefix notation. Therefore, A plus 2B times A squared minus B can be written in prefix notation.
Alright, so let's do another problem. Same thing like the last problem. What this problem is asking for us to do is fill in the blanks for B so that the argument in B has the same form as the argument in A. So A says this number is even or this number is odd. This number is not even. Therefore, this number is odd. So just looking at this first argument, we can see that there are a couple patterns that appear. For example, this number is odd is repeated at the end. And this sentence is repeated again here, but the negation of it. So I'm going to call the purple Q, the green P, and the yellow negation of P. And now let's look at B, because we want to fill in the blanks so that B has the same argument form as A. And so if we just write this argument using symbols only, you would see that it's P or Q, not P, and then Q. So B says blank or logic is confusing. My mind is not shot. Therefore blank. So since the second part of the OR is this number is odd, that means Q is this. And then since the second sentence is not P, then the second sentence is also not P. And now we know that the green is P, so this must be the green. And the negation of my mind is not shot is my mind is shot. Therefore, Q. This is Q. And what is Q? Well, Q is logic is confusing, so we just replace this fill in the blank with logic is confusing. So we filled in the blanks. Now the argument for B is my mind is shot or logic is confusing. My mind is not shot, therefore logic is confusing. And this argument has the same form as this argument. I also want to add that you can see the form of these two arguments by looking at the symbols by themselves. And I color-coded these so you can easily see that each of these forms are the same.